Hi, I'm Warwick Schiller for Weaver Leather. I'm going to show you a little bit today about how I go about teaching young horses to steer. This is a very greenish Andalusian mare who hasn't, she hasn't had many rides at all and haven't really done much steering with her. But before we start, I'll talk about my Weaver leather gear. So I've got my Weaver Synergy pad on here. I've got my Treeline Macati. I love this Treeline Macati. And I've also got a Weaver leather breast collar, and I think it's really important having a breast collar on these young horses to keep that saddle in place. Then you don't have to tighten that cinch in there as much. And I think a lot of times horses can learn to be a bit cinchy from having that cinch really tightened, really hard, in those first few saddlings. And so I always like to ride them with a good fitting breast collar. So I want to talk about steering a little bit, and I would say most people, when they're steering a young horse, in the process of teaching them to steer, they're actually steering them in a direction they don't want to go. So the horse is thinking off to the left and they're trying to get him to go to the right, or the horse is thinking off to the right and they're trying to get him to go to the left. And what I feel that does is I feel it tends to put a bit of a brace in there, because we all know if you pick up on a rein and ask for something, when the horse does the thing, when you release, that's what tells them that's the right thing. But it's not just what they're doing, it's the amount of relaxation or brace they have in their body when they're doing it that's repeatable, and it's also how they feel about what they're doing. If you steer them and they're kind of like, oh, I wish I could go over there, but they steer to the right, but they're wishing they could go left, when you let go, you're almost going, that's really good. If you wish in the opposite direction than we're going, that'd be good. And, I really feel that a lot of times people working on their steering are trying to get to a certain point too soon, meaning they're trying to steer their horse somewhere. For me, initially, I'm just trying to go to the left or to the right. Not to the left for a 90-degree turn or a 145-degree turn or any particular thing. What I'm doing really is waiting for them to get to the right spot. And I'll talk about that here in a second. But the process that I use teaching young horses to steer is, the first step is I'll always steer them in the direction they're already going in. Okay, so they're already thinking that direction. I'll just see if I can get them to go a little bit more in that direction. So you kind of got to wait till they kind of get set up to where you can ask them where you want them to go. The second step, after I work on, where I teach them to steer is steering them where they're already going. The second step is, let's say this mare was walking along here in a straight line. I could either go left or right because you're not thinking one way or the other. So initially I'm going to go the way they're thinking. Second step is I'm going to wait till they're not thinking one way or the other, and they're easily influenceable, and then I'll see if I can influence them to steer one way or the other. And then the third step is, if they're thinking around to the right, I'm going to try to steer them off to the left. But for me, that's kind of advanced steering as far as in my book. So I'm just going to ask her to walk around, and we'll see what she does here. Come on, sweetness, let's go. And she might walk around in some circles. She has done that a bit in the past. So see, now let's talk about this. If a horse wants to walk in small circles like this, just let him. Like right there, see how she went, okay, that wasn't a lot of fun. She thought she wanted to walk small right circles, and then she decided, no, I'm going to go somewhere else. See, she did a sharp turn there, but now she's not going a sharp. Now she's going to do a sharp turn here. So when I ask her to steer, I'm going to ask her to turn more in the direction than she's going in than she's already going in. So I wouldn't do it when she's doing a very small circle, because it's harder for her to do a smaller circle. I'm going to wait till she's walking around and she goes, let's say she goes over to the right here. So now she's going in a big circle to the right. So I'm just going to pick up on this rein, and there, right there. See, she just turned right there. And all I did was just picked up on that, slid my hand down that rein, and a lot of that comes from how well your groundwork is, how responsive to that halter is. Come on, Missy. How responsive to the halter your horse is on the ground. So she's kind of going around to the right here. I'm going to slide my hand out here. When she steers over there like that, and you see I don't really have to take the slack out of the rein. I really can't show you how to do that here because that was all done on the ground. But so right then I've steered her twice to the right, and she was already going to the right. So now we're going around. Which way are we going now? You're going to go left or right here. So she's going left here, so I'm just going to pick up on this rein, and as she goes slightly more left, I'll just let go. And for me, it's very important that I approach that rein very slowly. Like, I don't just pick up and pull on it. For me, if my hand was resting on my thigh, my hand leaving my thigh is the start of the steering. Let's say my hand was resting here. My hand leaves here, goes to here, touches this rein, slowly goes out to the side, and then she turns and steers, and I would let go. So that'd be step one, is steering them the way they're already going in. And what that does is it takes away them learning to brace in steering from the very beginning. Because for me, when I steer a horse, it's more about body posture and relaxation than it is about the fact that they go. Okay, if you steer and they drop their shoulder and they're tight or whatever, and they brace and they go that way and you let go, you've now taught them that when I touch one rein, you should drop your shoulder and get all kind of bent out of shape, sort of thing. Now, if you teach them that on the right rein and then teach them that on the left rein, when you go to pick up on two reins, you find you tend to have a bit of brace in there, because you've got a brace in this side of their mouth or this side of their head, and a brace in this side right there. So what I'm trying to do is avoid teaching them how to brace, is the big thing. You know, I don't feel like I'm a good enough rider to be able to override a horse that goes around with a brace with my legs and seat and all that sort of stuff. I would just rather these horses did things in the way I want them to do by electing to do it. And so when I steer, and you'll probably start to see it here in a minute, but when I steer, when I pick up, I'm going to wait for them to be straight before I let go, which means if I'm walking a circle to the right, I would like their body to be bent in the shape of that circle that we're going in, okay? Not dropping their shoulder in, not swinging their hips out, none of those sorts of things. But I'm not going to do anything to get it. I'm just going to wait until they find it, okay? And so far she's found it every time I've picked up, so I haven't had to wait. But I'm just going to go for a walk here again. And I might start doing step two, is if she's walking and she's going kind of straight like this, I might elect to go to the left. I'm going to pick Miss Rein up and wait, and she bends, she goes up and around and follows her nose, and her body's straight right there. I'll let go. So that's an example of choosing to go one way or the other when they haven't already chosen a direction yet. And that bit I showed you first, I've done a couple of days of that at the walk here in the round pen. Okay, that's about all I've done with that. Now, once again, if she's in this little small circle right here, I'm just going to wait her out. I'm just going to sit here, wait for her. There's nothing wrong with this. Moving and bending is the key to relaxation. If she wants to move and bend at the same time, I'm down with that. And then she just straightens up and comes out of that. So yes, I might try the third step here in a second, not in this small circle, but when she gets a bit bigger. Like right here, she's going to the right. I'm just going to pick up on my left rein, and I'm waiting for her, the bend. There's not enough bend yet. There's not enough bend yet. Right there was a little bit more bend. So when she went around that corner right there, she had the tiniest bit of a brace in her body. Probably because she was thinking to the right and I'm to the left. And what I did was I waited until she thought to the left. She was going left, but I wanted her to think left, which means all the parts of her body, her mind and her body are all committed to going left. There's no part of her thinking. It took me a bit of a turn before she did that. Okay, so now she's going off to the right. I'm going to do it again. So I'm going to pick up on this left rein. Notice the left ear flicks back here. I'm just going to wait for her to put a little bit more of a bend in her body, like right there. She just put a slight bit more of a, come on sweetie, put a slight bit more of a bend in her body. And it's not like, doing that step one, step two, step three. It's not like once you're up to step three, you can't do step one and two again. Like right here, I could pick up and steer her slightly more to the right. And you might notice she bends her body when I steer. And so a lot of riders, doing like technical disciplines, later on they get to where they go inside leg to outside rein to try to get that horse to bend their body and go straight around a corner, which there's nothing wrong with that. But I find that horses can do that correct bend if their body and their mind are all lined up doing the same thing at the same time. So she's wandering around here. I'm just going to steer it to the left. I'm going to pick up here. Her body starts to bend. She goes up and around. She's not as bent as I want, so I'm just going to wait. And right there, she bent a little more. So do you see, I don't have to do more. It's not like I want to pull harder or anything. I'm just going to wait. Just going to wait for her to find the right answer. I might just steer it to the... I'm going to go to the left here because she's going to the right. So I'm going to slowly pick up here. And right there, she had the correct bend right from the very start right then. So I really like that. But what I am not probably not a fan of is teaching horses to steer poorly and then trying to be a technical rider and undo the brace that's in there. I would rather be, come on sweetie, I'd personally rather be a bit more patient at the start and teach them how to steer before I start worrying about other things. So she's going around to the left now. I don't think we've steered to the right when she's been thinking to the left, and I wouldn't do it here in this tight area, but right here she's kind of going left, so I'm not going to steer to the right. I'm just going to pick up here, and she should bend in her body like that. I love that. Go up and around this corner, and then I'll just drop that rein and we'll just head off over here. And so I'm not trying to steer I'm going to steer to the right here. I'm not trying to steer to a particular place. I'm trying to wait for a particular feeling. I want a little more bend than that. See, she's pulling on that. I'm just going to wait, and right there she just got a bit softer right there. But I didn't, come on miss, I didn't pull harder, but I'm not trying to go in a certain direction. So I'm not trying to go from here to the camera or here to the mounting block or here to the whatever. When I steer, I'm after a certain feeling. So if I pick up here and she starts to steer, I'm waiting for a bit more bend, a little bit more bend I'm waiting for. I'm waiting for a little bit more bend right about there, then I'll let go. So it's not a certain direction I'm going in, it's a feeling while going in a certain direction. So it's either left or right. So this is teaching your horse to steer. This is not steering your horse. This is teaching your horse to steer, and there's a huge difference between teaching something and doing something. If she could steer really well every time, then I could steer to a point where I wanted to go to. Whereas what I'm doing with her right here is just trying to teach her how to steer. And like I said, I've done that first step for a couple of days already, so she's got that first step. Today's the first day I ever in the opposite direction than she was turning ever. And you saw, I'll just show you that again. Come on, miss. So she's going to the, which way is she going here? Doing those few days of only steering in the direction she was going in has helped to where there's no brace. Like when I reach down to touch her head, there's no resistance right there. So if I go down here, as I touch that, her head bends and her feet follow. Okay, if I go down this way, her head bends and her feet follow. Does that make sense there? I'll pick up here, her head bends and her feet follow. Come on, darling. And that's I think a lot of the brace comes from trying to get them to go somewhere they don't want to go. For me, initially, it's just go. It's walk and it's trot and it's canter. Anywhere you want to go. I'm just trying to work on gait first. Then I'm going to start to worry about gait and direction. And you can't really steer them if they aren't going forward. Okay, so something I wouldn't suggest doing on a young horse is picking up on the rein, then asking them to walk forward over there. Okay, because you can get a bit of a brace in that. Ask them to walk forward first, then if you want to steer them somewhere, then steer them. It's like driving a car. You can turn the steering wheel all you like, but until you get power to the back wheels or the front wheels of the front wheel drive or a boat, you can turn the rudder all you like, but unless you get forward motion, you can't go anywhere. So that's a little bit about how I like to work on steering. And how do I know when I think it's good? I think it's good when every time I reach down and pick up on that rein, they go to exactly the right shape as I do it. Okay. Then after that, then you could start steering whatever you want. You could start steering for longer periods of time. You could walk an actual circle. All I'm after at this point in time is when I pick up on that rein, I want them to walk a part of a circle perfectly straight, which means, straight means if you were to look at them from above and look at the circle they're on. Their body is bent in the same shape as their circle. And when horses don't really bend their bodies, what they do is they tighten their ribs up on one side, loosen their ribs on the other side, and they take their inside hind foot and step it forward towards their outside front foot. That's actually how they bend. Their bodies don't actually bend like this web. And they've got to be relaxed to do that. So really, when I'm steering them, I'm teaching them how to move and be relaxed at the same time, while teaching them to steer really well. And there's another part of it that I'm always on about, which is the connection part of things. And if I'm steering her and she's not quite straight, which means her mind and her body aren't quite lined up, maybe she's thinking over there just a little bit longer or whatever, and as soon as her mind comes back to here, so now she's straight and I let go right then, not only am I saying, hey, I noticed when you're straight, or thank you for being straight, I'm saying, I noticed when your thoughts changed to your idea, my idea became your idea. Okay, and I think there's a great deal of connection that you can build with horses just from doing that. I think that's a big part of really good training. The part of training that creates connection, you've all heard the saying, reward the slightest try. When you reward the slightest try, not only are you rewarding the fact that they tried, you're rewarding that you noticed that little try. And horses really thrive on the awareness of other sentient beings. And so that's the same thing that's happening when I steer, when I pick up and I wait for her to just get a little bit softer. Right when she gets softer, I didn't bump and kick and poke and prod and manipulate her into being softer. I just waited till she just softened into that turn, and that's when I'll let go. And like I said, not only am I saying, perfect, that's the shape I want you to be in, and that's the mental state I want you to be in, I'm also saying, I notice when your mental state changed right then. And I really feel that that's a big part of connection, and like I said, relaxation under saddle as well. So hopefully that gives you something to think about. Think about that when you're steering your horse. Think about how many times a day do you steer your horse, and if every time you steer your horse, when you let go, they were a little bit stiffer than they were before, or they're a little bit more relaxed than they were before, your steering can either be adding up to a lot of good things or detracting and getting you further away from your goal, depending on how you do it. So just really think about that when you are steering, and I hope you enjoyed that, and we'll catch you on another little blurb here for Weaver Leather.